Lord, lead us, Lord, we prevail. I'm making this video because every now and then, my youngest daughter and I used to do it with her mom too. We'll just talk about dreams we had, We used to talk about everything possible. I mean, everything. And sometimes we talk about our dreams, Um, and because my youngest daughter's mother, it started because she used to have nightmares about losing her mom, because her mom had some health problems, and when we were first together, she would have nightmares about that, or sometimes nightmares something happened to her dad, or something happened down at the fishing village where most the entire barangay, or in English, neighborhood or township, it was all family. Everybody was her family, pretty much, or her mom's family, either her dad's family or her mom's family. Actually, the neighborhood next to them, that was all her dad's family. But anyway, so I just dismissed this dream. But then when I started thinking about it, I think it's kind of poignant. Really, I'm not saying it'll happen, but I don't know, it's something strange. But it's a dream that I died in the place we are now, which we've always, I don't want to say had fear. I don't live by fear. But we've always in the back of our mind been concerned about, because they screw with our phones, they knock them off the tower, they simulate us, they simulate the hell out of us. And, I don't know if the owner of the complex knows or the investors, but the front office knows. Matter of fact, some of the people that used to work in the front office in the past were involved in posting crap about my family. And we can't forget that the police department, or at least a couple of officers, rent an apartment here. I think it's a family of a officer who's a known troublemaker. That's what I think. And they get them involved in stuff because, again, it's family of an officer. And they're troublemakers. So is the officer. I didn't like her. She dismissed a complaint because an African-American kid pulled a knife on a white kid. She dismissed it. Actually, she found it comical. She said, "Oh, kids will be kids." I looked at her. I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" And then she skipped away. Literally skipped. I kid you not. She skipped away to her car. I said, "You know what?" I said, "You don't even seem like a cop." She said, "Well, I am." I'm like, "No, you don't seem like a cop to me. You're mandated to make a report." I said, "And to possibly call CPS." "Well, you want to, you call them." And then another cop that didn't like me that used to work for Saginaw. Sometimes the police officers will, I don't know how you do it. You switch a police officer between municipalities, but around Saginaw and the townships that border the city, they'll do it all the time. Go back and forth, back and forth. And I don't know how you do that when it comes to oaths and when it comes to being bound to municipality as a police officer, but they do it. And anyway, another officer that doesn't like me because I said that she obviously has a problem with men, because I told her about some threats and stuff that happened at Country Way, and she dismissed me. And I said, I'm like, "You don't have a problem with men, don't you?" She said, "Why do you say that?" I'm like, "Because you keep favoring the lady." She said, "Well, I didn't hear her story. She's not here." And actually, I think probably she's not the problem. Probably you are. I'm like, I'm calling about threats and about people filling our house with smoke and disturbing my daughter, very questionable behavior, and you're protecting her. I'm like, either you have a problem with men or you're not really a cop. And then she's like, "Oh, yeah, well, they're going to insult me now and say I'm a lesbian? Were you trying to judge me?" Come to find out she was. I saw her with her wife or girlfriend at a store, but that's not my point. My point was she has an issue with men. Anyway, so I saw her there too. And it's pretty obvious. I've been around women before. LGBTQ plus, from the lesbian community, and they do not like men. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, my mom helped some people at a women's shelter. Apparently, the woman, the lead in the relationship, if that's what you're going to call it, was abused by her wife. And then, actually, then it wasn't wife, it would have been partner. And another lady who was abused by her husband. And apparently, this was a lady that got her involved while she's in the shelter. I guess turned her, if that's what you want to call it, or helped her discover her, inner self, or whatever you want to call it. Helped her discover her real feelings, I guess, for women. I don't really know the story. I just know what was said amongst the ladies in the shelter, and I heard both. And because my mom used to take us there, we used to hang out because she was a volunteer at a women's rescue shelter, and she worked with the Underground Railroad. Actually, say volunteered. But anyway, so and that lady, the lead in the relationship, she hate men. She created a lot of trouble against me because I had a crush on her partner. My brother caught them being intimate. I mean, all kinds of just insane stuff. So I've had experience with women like that before. They absolutely despise men. And that was that lady. Even though she's supposed to be a police officer and being impartial, she was not at all. And so she left, and the guy that she was training, she's probably a FTO, he just looked at me and looked at her. He's like, oh, okay, I guess we're done here. He was surprised that she acted like a child too and just left. But that's how Saginaw is, You're the wrong ideology, then you better just shut your mouth or you're going to get targeted. And so anyway, so there's an apartment that's rented by them. Or like I said, it's a family member. I don't really know. I don't really care. But, that's why this particular police department has not made not one police report. They're even worse than Saginaw. For everything that's happened to us, not one police report. We've had civil rights violations. We've had hate crimes. We've had threats. We've had breaking and entering. We have had molestation, groping. We have had identity theft. Not one report's ever been generated. Not even one. But they tried to get me arrested because we called the dispatch about some kids videoing us and following us around. And I know this family, they're going to do something that would possibly target my daughter because they're filming her. And a couple of officers came and they flipped it. They flipped it against me. But anyway, and the police, I got some backdoor information and some copies of some stuff. And the police chief and some of his friends and the dispatcher, they all pushed this to get me arrested. Based on absolutely no evidence at all. And based on my approach to somebody who's, non-binary. Because I didn't know their gender. That's the whole basis of this ridiculous complaint to try to get me arrested. That's the stupidest thing and the most wasteful thing between the man hours spent Buena Vista Township to push this, the man hours spent at Saginaw County District Court to push this. You're talking about several hundred, maybe even $1,000 of wasted time over something stupid. The very, very gist of the complaint is stupid. But anyway, back to the topic, the dream. So I had a dream I died in here. And then my closest family member, which we don't talk now. We haven't talked in probably 6 months. Usually we hear from them once or twice a year, but now we rarely hear from them. But they live close. They live about 45 minutes away. And so they refuse to answer any phone calls or anything or emails or, police coming to visit. What little we know about where they're staying. So my daughter was put in foster care. And so that was a great, very grievous, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very grievous? Is that even a word? Very distressing for me. So, this is what little I remember. Then I think at death, Our Lady met me. This is vague, though. This is a vague part. There's some parts of it that are vague, like some of the beginning. Um, but anyway, so I was led to like purgatory, and I went, she, I guess, maybe led me to purgatory or to judgment. I don't know. I don't know. Because Our Lady wouldn't lead someone to purgatory. I don't know. I don't know that part. Like I said, it's vague. But anyway, I ended up talking to our Lord about what was happening to my family and begging for him to intercede or for others to intercede or the saints, or angels or the holy, the holy dead who've passed on, the communion of saints, something. And it really distressed me. And also my other two daughters who are overseas, one of them we have never found because people in Saginaw are targeting and keeping me here. So I can't go and find one of my daughters that we don't know what happened to her. Her mother disappeared for a while in the Middle East, and supposedly the last time I talked to her, she claims she's back in Southeast Asia, but she may be lying because she finds backers, and she's known lots of hacker criminal types. But I didn't know that till we were together for, a couple years. And I didn't know that, which now is, now I background anybody that comes in my home or spends time with my children. I background check them. If they spend significant time alone with my children, I will background check them. I'm a very different person now. But so and my oldest, her mother worked at a bar before that was run by a lesbian that was involved in human trafficking, and this lady used to sleep with some of the people that worked at her bar, and so I also had a concern about my oldest daughter. I haven't been able to make sure that she can't be pulled into that life or bound into it, or chained into it, so to speak. Um, I also had a concern about her. So I'm begging with our Lord. And so our Lord advocated with me. And God, in his great wisdom, said that this would be part of my penance, part of my purgatory, you know, arranging this justice for my daughters and for our future generations. This would be my kind of penance, which in Chinese is Zhu Shuang Cheng Gway. I forget the Chinese word, but it's a Cheng ghost. It's a ghost seeking justice, or also related to a hero ghost, which is somebody that comes back to right things that are wrong. And in Chinese culture, it's looked upon as a curse. But if you look at things in terms of spiritual balance, it can also be a good thing because you're righting things that are wrong. It's the basis for Highway to Heaven, if you want to think about it. Jonathan Edwards was a cop who died, his job was to work with Michael, who was the angel, the archangel, which was Michael Landon, to make things right as his penance. So it's kind of like I dreamed that show. But this is a sign that hangs over my bed, and Chinese, and then also used to be in Hebrew, begging God, if so allowed. This is why this is, poignant, because it's also part of, things that if I die before things are set right for my children, because obviously, there's people, not only some of our medical providers, but some people at the VA, some people in the community in Buena Vista, they want me dead. And they do their best to sabotage anything they can, even at the VA. Even at some of the doctors that I'm referred to, they don't do crap to make me better. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And one doctor, when I talked to him about some of the issues that were going on, I'm like, well, it's interesting to know that. That means The VA does owe me money. When I told him that, this was right after I woke up from the OR. He got scared. I never saw panic. I'm like, I said to him this. I remember this because I woke up from anesthetic. I'm like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, I've been saying this stuff all along. He's like, whoa, we'll have to look into that. So that being said, God said that's your penance. So he sent me down. Now my daughter, when she went to foster care, she was sent to one of the African American families that live around us now in real life. And they were living under a fake identity. And to be foster parents, they had some other house that was not their house. And then some of the troublemakers from the place we live in now, they were hanging around with my daughter in this foster home. And the foster parents were abusive. They were into drugs. They had, like I said, malcontents for friends and troublemakers, gangbangers, drug dealers, unrepentant, active sex workers. Let's see what else. They're just all around bad people. And so I, myself, as part of my penance, went to set things right with my youngest, and I disturbed this family, and I scared them, and I tried to drive them to church. So they called a woman from the African American community who is a witch, and she's from down south. So it ended up that we got it. This is when I woke up to go to the bathroom at one point. I was in a spiritual battle with her. And again, she's a witch of the devil. Nothing white magic or what do they call themselves? The Wiccans. None of this stuff. In voodoo, she's a black witch, a dark witch. And so in the end, I'm in this spiritual battle with her because the family feels that there's some forces against them. So we're in this battle of, I guess, spiritual energy. And then I ended up killing her. She goes insane. Then she has a heart attack. And so then this family's scared. So then they get together with the social workers. This, like I said, this is pretty crazy dream. I had it between 2 bathroom sessions, so it means it's probably a couple hours. So then they get with social services. Social services knew our family and all the crap that happened while we were on benefits with them and all the stuff that happened, when we first went in there. They tried to make a fake identity for my daughter. This was when we first came back to the States, and I said, no. I said, this is not her name. Use her name on her birth certificate. And they said, oh, no, it's okay. I said, no, it's not. Use the name on the birth certificate or I'll go to Lansing. And so they acquiesced. And then they opened a new case in her real name. But that took several months because I didn't have the cards. My sister-in-law did. And evidently, she didn't know. She didn't know what's on my daughter's birth certificate. But eventually I corrected it and we canceled that case. And anyway, social service gets involved and they, start arguing and debating with my brother, with his church leadership. And they're like, look, this is going to look bad on all of us. All of this stuff that's going on now. Because also that bad family, the bad foster parents and their friends where we're living now, they were all outed. All of them. I don't know what I did to out them, but they were outed. In addition to the witch being killed, which wasn't me. That was God's power, not mine. But, evidently, somebody opened a portal, Santa Barbara, opened a portal that good angels and the holy dead killed that witch. But, or you could also say, would it be Papa Legba, I think? No, it wouldn't be Papa Legba. Yeah, it would be Papa Legba. Anyway, in different circles, these are the people. But, different, we'll call them representatives, but actually it would, you could also say in Christianity that it would be the archangels. Those are the angels of the corners of the doors. But anyway, so they're saying, hey, this is going to reflect bad on all of us. This is really getting out of control. Of course, nobody realizes what's going on behind the scenes. That now the Lord's involved, and so eventually, my my family does take my daughter out of foster care, and they don't mandate her to join their church. She's invited to go there. Sometimes they won't force her. So anyway, it's totally different from reality. But uh, she's allowed to go whatever direction. Uh, she's trying to integrate. We have such a very strong love for Judaism and for Israel and respect for the Jewish people. And there's only certain circles of Catholicism that you find that, or the Patriarchate of Jerusalem. And so that being said, they give her the freedom to integrate things on her own. And so that's that. So she was set right, and I got justice for her. I should say we got justice for her, and she was set. And of course, not the original direction of our family, but at least it was better. And her mom got involved, and her mom actually got more involved than now. And there's a little bit of travel back and forth between here and Europe, which is where her mom is right now. And she just not in a better life, but we'll say a better direction than she was in the beginning of the dream. Now, then we move to the second part. Then I go to Southeast Asia, and I scare the bejesus, and I set right the lesbian who owns the bar, who's trafficking. She gets scared the heck out of it and guilted that she goes to confession and becomes a diehard Catholic, and her bar becomes a good bar. No more nasty stuff going on. And my daughter was being forced to work there as a waitress, just like her mother. And I set that right and made sure that her mother. I don't want to put this out there. What her mother did in the past, or what boundaries she crossed with anybody, if any, or what role she played at the bar. I'm not going to discuss that. But just say that I assured that my daughter would not have to work there, and that nobody would ever cross boundaries with her because they were scared, and they were very, very convicted by the Holy Spirit, and as was her mother. And then, some people in where she is, um, church authorities got involved and helped her with her education, which was what I planned to do, until Saginaw, Michigan happened, till the city of Saginaw and Buena Vista Township happened. Um, and Saginaw Township, I guess. No, actually, the VA is in the city of Saginaw. I think it's still in city limits. But anyway, so she was set right, and her life, of course, not the same, but also the door open to her, relationship with her younger sister was opened, and blockages to that removed. The bullying stopped because people were convicted and they were scared. Then my middle child, this is a point that I don't remember. I think probably I was in and out of REM, or maybe I just forgot, because when your oxygen goes up and down, that does inhibit memory. Um, it could even damage it if it's too long. But so I got there and found that her mom was into bad things. I mean, she had a business, but she's still the same attitude, still into bad things. And so I was beginning to set that right with my middle child's mother and her family, and her new boyfriend's family or husband. I don't know if they were married or not. He's already married to somebody else. He got 2 or 3 kids with her. I don't know the exact what, but I was setting things right from a middle child. I'd found her as a Chang ghost, a hero ghost. And that's the point that I woke up. But it's just an interesting dream. You know, someone who's from the Chinese community will, find this crazy, because generally you come back as a ghost is a bad thing. But then again, if you look at it in the scale of, if somebody was a diehard Buddhist, or even somebody who, is a Christian who studied demonology and Christology, and soteriology, and I forgot the discipline that deals with the saints, and with soteriology is the study and the knowledge and the history of salvation, and Christology is the study and the knowledge and the I guess the discipline relating to Christ and redemption. And ecclesiology is the knowledge and the history and the discipline of studying the development of the church. Church militant, church triumphant, church salvic. I can't remember the discipline dealing with the saints and justification and purgation. These are disciplines, Somebody who's studied higher level graduate theology or studied in Rome, they would have had some of this stuff. And or even if they would have studied at, a higher level Orthodox seminary, they would, have access to some of this stuff. But anyway, so that's the dream, which is rather interesting, that I just think it had to be recorded. Because that's my hope that, if I'm not able to fix things in our life and get my children out of the situations they are, that I would beg God, I would beg for him to let me do this as my penance. I would beg for it, to set things that are right, or set things right that are wrong, especially with regarding my family and my predecessors, so that and my our future children, to try to set things right. It's just an interesting dream. And I used to have some of this stuff here. It's still here. Some of these things are still here. Is that reverse? Would that be reverse? Yeah, it is reverse. I can't fix that. Gway Xiong was the hero ghost. Gway Gway Xiong. Da Shi Gway. Wei Hu Zuo Chang. Hard to see my stress marks here. Wei Hu Zuo Cheng, or Chuan Song Gway, Li Gway, Yan Gway, Ba Gway, Yi Shi Gway, Yao Gway, Gway, Gway Yi Gway, Gway Yi Gway, And then Gway. Oh. Gway. Interesting. Anyway. Very interesting dream.